Hey everybody, welcome to the Uncultured Cinematic Universe. Here we discuss your favorite movies of all time, as well as the ones that got away. We look at classic and iconic films from two perspectives, that of the diehard fan and that of the uncultured, who's never seen it before until now. We're your hosts, Joe and Justin, here to act as your guides, playing part as both the fellow enthusiasts and the ignorant and uncultured. Today, it's time to free your mind and shake those tail feathers, because we're talking about the unlikely 2000 blockbuster hit Chicken Run.
I can't wait to fully understand just how much of a blockbuster this was.
Have you done any digging into how much money this made and stuff?
Absolutely not. So I know you kind of poke around in some of the things for the movies. I don't, because I don't want to unearth anything that might be like a bombshell that you want to drop on me.
Yeah, you famously, this is going back into Justin and Joe history. You used to not watch trailers for things because you didn't want to spoil them. Is that still a practice that you uphold?
That's not. So my movie going habits have changed. Rarely get a chance to go out and see a new film.
Right. The habits are that they don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Habitually, they don't exist.
Yeah.
So, if I see or read any inklings about a cool movie that's coming out that I want to see, now I'll just go ahead and just watch the trailer just to get that initial endorphin hit. And then I know that eventually at some point I'll watch it.
I mean, we're living in the golden age of Barbenheimer right now. What are your thoughts? Are you excited to see either Barbie or Oppenheimer?
I really do want to see them, if nothing more than just to fully celebrate the insane uniqueness of having both of those movies out at the same time, and how there is just fervent, hunger on all sides to go watch this movie. Both of them, really.
People are throwing around the word monoculture. We are a society once again that is obsessed with going to the movies. We're all talking about the same thing. You go on Twitter right now, every other thing is Barbie and Oppenheimer.
The last week and into this week has all been you see all the memes, you see all the t-shirts that are coming out. And I think I want to just buy a shirt just to commemorate, even if I don't go see them in theaters, which I probably should, so I can share that unique, dumb history with my daughter later in life.
Aww.
You remember the Barbenheimer of 23? I was there.
Shut up, Grandma. Go take your pill.
You're drunk again, Grandpa.
Grandpa, you're ruining the barbecue.
I would fully, not be surprised if the mid-Atlantic accent comes back by then. So
really?
Yeah.
You think it's going to come back around?
I hope so.
Well, for regular listeners of the podcast, you know that I typically treat each episode as a close reading of a paper that you would write in ninth grade.
Okay.
So I like to have an intro and a middle stuff and conclusion, regular 5-paragraph essay. And I have been inspired by Barbenheimer, and it's going to make its way into my argument later when we talk about just what makes a blockbuster.
There's an argument?
Yeah, because we are, of course, rounding off Blockbuster month. It is the month of July.
Yep.
Our miniseries this month was all about blockbusters. So you guys started with Terminator 2.
Yep.
Famous blockbuster, famous sequel blockbuster, famous movie theater moment, probably another moment where everyone was just talking about it, right?
Yeah.
We then went into Speed, which was kind of a big kickoff moment for both Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock.
Yep.
We talked about budget, we talked about effects, we talked about just big, yes,
yeah,
going maximalist and everything.
And now this one is such a curveball.
I think it's a natural next step to talk about Chicken Run after these first two. So the reason I picked Chicken Run, this is a stop motion animated movie that came out in 2000. For anyone who doesn't know, it was made by DreamWorks as kind of their big competitive moment with Disney pre-Shrek. At the moment.
That really surprised me at the beginning. I was like, "Ooh, it's a DreamWorks."
Yeah, a year before Shrek really blew them out of the water.
Yeah.
Or blew Disney out of the water.
Yeah.
Lots of blowing. So the reason I picked it is not just because it made a ton of money, and I'm going to kind of get into my reasons, which it did. It made a lot of money. So
I'm surprised. So we can touch on this in a little bit, but just So there's the implication of the Wallace and Gromit of it all, as well as
Explain that. What?
so like the animation studio, the style and the look is of Wallace and Gromit,
Yeah, it's the same studio.
right? So there's that, and then there's like British humorisms,
Right.
which usually impacts and has a fervent underground following or whatever for like a subset of society.
It doesn't seem like it would be a mainstream hit.
And that's why I'm really surprised that like you presented that. I was like, Chicken Run was a blockbuster? Okay. All right.
I'll get into this when I get to the stats, and then I'll have some thoughts on why it's a blockbuster.
Yeah.
But let's talk about just stop motion.
Yeah.
What do we think? Where do you land on stop motion as a visual art form?
I love it.
Yeah.
I know, that there are certain people that just like can't stand it. It's either too like uncanny or too unsettling in some of the movements. Like some people don't like Coraline for those reasons. But I remember my earliest like feature length thing of stop motion was, which I imagine most of millennials, was The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes.
Stop motion, Robert Zemeckis, which some people confuse that Tim Burton did it.
Not Robert Zemeckis, Henry Selick.
Henry Selick, not Zemeckis.
People would be after you with torches for saying Zemeckis.
For some reason, Henry Selick and Robert Zemeckis kind of sound.
They both have similar names. And
It's like the same kind of syllabic kind of follow through.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my earliest memory of like a feature length. However, I think my first memory of coming across what stop motion was probably again like the early 90s, but it was music videos. Watching MTV. I grew up watching MTV a ton. I was a super rap kid,
You're so cool.
I'm so cool.
God
But the music videos from the band Tool, early on did like really creepy stop motion style music videos.
That's pretty cool.
And they're so unsettling, and that's the kind of shit that I love.
What is the genre of Tool? I haven't heard of them.
They're kind of like stoner doom metal rock kind of thing. Yeah, it's just really they've kind of evolved a lot more into like syncopated mathy kind of stuff. But that was my first introduction to like, what is this visual medium thing that I'm watching?
Mm-hmm.
And then, Nightmare Before Christmas. And then I'm trying to think of anything in between that and like Coraline that jumps out. Probably this one, but I didn't watch this when it came out. But Coraline as well. And then I can't remember the name of this movie. You're going to have to circle back to me. But there was this big like 30-year movement, or not even movement. It was a passion project of some director guy who I think he worked on, I think it was one of the dinosaur guys from Jurassic Park.
Okay.
He did this long 30-year reaching project to make a stop animation, like heady, crazy movie. It's called like God something. I can't remember. I have to look it up.
Did it ever come out?
It did. It eventually did come out. I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, so like stop animation, I think it's rad as an artist, a person who creates. I can really fully appreciate it just for the amount of effort it takes. It's mind-blowing.
That's what I was going to say. Like when you see behind the scenes of any of these stop motion movies, obviously like the way that they do this is they're taking actual pictures of like clay or other like moldable objects, and so they do it frame by frame, and then they tweak it, and then they take a picture, and that's a frame, and then it's a frame. And so it's never really like just a regular 9-to-5 day job for anyone. It always has the feeling of like this is someone's passion project.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of stop motion films, and they all take like 5 years to make.
It is
like 8,000 hours.
It is years of someone's life going in, day out, and just like meticulously moving a little thing, backbreaking labor.
Yeah. So it as an art form, it's probably like respected, but you can see how like it probably doesn't take off as much as like CGI or traditionally hand-drawn animated stuff.
No. Because the investment is so high up front, and it takes a long time for the return, So,
which is so great when you get a company like Aardman, where Chicken Run was their first major like feature length thing. And so
Yeah.
they did a lot of shorts. I have kind of like a history moment with them. They made a lot of like short films, and they did stuff like you're talking about with music videos, and they did like little television spots and stuff that were all stop motion animated. And so they kind of made a name for themselves as Aardman Animations in stop motion. They're kind of like the first name in stop motion these days.
Yeah.
Besides maybe like Leica is another one now. So Aardman was founded back in like the early 70s. And then it wasn't until like very late 80s and into the 90s that they really started dominating, weirdly, the Academy Award for Animated Short. They won that like 3 times. So they would be crunching out these shorts. A lot of it was like Wallace and Gromit shorts. They kind of became famous with that. And then they partnered with DreamWorks on this movie because DreamWorks at the time, late 90s, early 2000s, was scrambling to compete with Disney. And so Disney in that era was releasing, in 2000 they had Fantasia, they had Dinosaur. Did you ever see that? Where it's like
the
animated
Fantasia and then Dinosaur. Yeah.
Fantasia 2000, Dinosaur with like the traumatic meteor sequence, and Emperor's New Groove. Those were like their big 2000 animated movies to kind of put you in the moment. DreamWorks is looking for a hit. They released Prince of Egypt, which was like critically well received, won some Oscars, but maybe didn't make a ton of money. And they're about to release Shrek, and they don't really know what they have there. And so they team up with Aardman to release this movie. It ends up being kind of a crossover hit and like a broad reaching story, which I think is one of the facets of what makes something a blockbuster, is that it kind of has mass appeal. And I want to talk about like how this story is just like so tight and well made that there's one thing that we're after, and the characters all have very specific goals, and like it wraps up, and this is it. This is such a well shaped story. And so anyway, so like this is the first movie that Aardman releases, first feature length movie. It makes, let me see, $227 million. And it remains, by a pretty large margin, the highest grossing stop motion movie of all time.
I believe it.
So that's what
Well, I'm surprised that Coraline didn't have as much of
Coraline. Yeah, Coraline. I think
been more of a
following.
Yeah.
But was a little bit darker, whereas this movie, like you could see it.
This movie's still pretty fucking dark.
Oh my god,
this movie's still dark as shit at times. This movie's dark as shit. I think like within the first, I think it's in the first 5 minutes. There's a beheading, and it's just like, oh my god, that's dark for a kid's movie.
Yeah, it's really sad.
And like having to tell children that's like, oh yeah, that's where like, you know, the chicken nuggets and chicken fingers that you love so much, yeah, those are actual chickens.
Yeah, and there's like World War II internment camp, not internment camp, POW camp vibes throughout. Like it's very, very inspired by The Great Escape. I don't know if you picked up on that. That's the music. That's the video that I sent you before this that kind of shows the music. So this movie from like the 50s or 60s with Steve McQueen, and it's about a prisoner of war camp. It's almost comedic in a way, but obviously it has like dramatic moments where it's Steve McQueen and a bunch of hours in a German prison of war camp. The warden is like this German guy, and he's kind of like their nemesis, but they keep planning escapes again and again. Mastermind, he has like a science buddy who's like his brains. Yeah. And so they escape in all these like crazy ways. It ends with them all escaping and kind of scattering, and like some of them make it and some of them don't.
Is Mel Gibson also in this one?
No.
Baby Mel Gibson.
Baby Mel Gibson. He was born in there. No. So yeah, very much inspired by that time. The music is very like regimental.
It's very marchy.
Yeah, I love the music in this movie. Let me see. So Aardman's first feature-length production, bought by DreamWorks, pre-Shrek, heavy inspiration. What was your knowledge of this movie going into it? Like, what did you know about it, and what really surprised you here?
So, 2000. I'm in my early teens.
Mhm.
Just on that burgeoning point of just like, I'm not a girl, but not yet a woman, so like I'm trying to grow out of children's movies and kind of get more into adult, which I already,
You're not seeing this kid shit.
yeah, but get ready for high school, that kind of stuff. Um, so I remember seeing the trailer for this movie, and it sparked, a lot of nostalgic memories when I downloaded the trailer that we're going to watch here
Mhm.
of like, oh, I remember seeing that like in theaters or on like VHS tapes or whatever. And they used to put trailers at the front. So I knew of it, and I remember that like, oh, that looks like Wallace. I was familiar with Wallace and Gromit throughout the 90s. And I don't remember like what channel it came on or how I was able to watch it. But I was like, oh, that's not for me. Like I wasn't super into British humor. I was only like barely adjacent to it. Like I'd seen some Monty Python stuff. I know my dad loved it growing up.
Mhm.
But I tried it a couple times when I was a little bit younger, and I was like, I don't quite get it, what they're saying, and they're speaking really funny and talking kind of fast, and I don't understand. Same with Wallace and Gromit. So I wasn't super excited to watch this movie as a kid, and then just passed me by. But it was really surprising, taking it all in, especially since you poised it as like, oh, it's got World War II vibes. So it totally does. It's got like dour light. It's really dark, dang.
It's so muddy.
It's so oppressive.
You expect like a World War II tank to go by in the background.
Yeah. Just a fighter pilot
Mhm.
jet just zip on by.
Even though arguably it takes place in like maybe the 80s, the 70s, who knows? It's kind of like out of time.
It's out
Just
of
based
time.
off of the technology being used. It's like post 50s, I'd say.
It's got to be at least, definitely past World War II. The war has ended.
Mhm. The Allies have
Yeah.
won. Hitler exists within Chicken Run, but he's just not here anymore.
He is dead. So it's that was really surprising, of just like the tone of it being just so like, we need to overcome and break our genes, that kind of a thing. I was like, that's kind of like, I can get how that's like easy to understand, and like it's an escape kind of movie, and that's an easy concept for a child to grasp onto. But like reading into it as an adult is just like, oh, that's kind of dark.
Mhm.
Like they are literally escaping death.
Yeah.
And they can see it and they know it's coming.
A death that is very much like in the foreground in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. And so that really threw me off. It's just like, oh shit, this is one of those kinds of movies. But
And that's part of my big thesis for like what really makes a blockbuster. It's just, it's clear stakes. Like we talked about this with Speed. It's such a contained story. This is kind of similar in that way. Like this whole movie takes place within like a chicken coop, really.
Yeah,
Like
a
a
lot of set
fenced in like paddock or whatever we're going to call it. That looks like a prisoner of war camp. I love the way that they design this. If you look in some of the earlier shots, there's like, I don't know what it's supposed to be on a chicken farm, but there's something that looks like a gunman watchtower, like on the edge of the fence that I only noticed like this time around. Like there's no one up there, obviously. But they really make it look like The Great Escape, like with the individual huts and stuff.
Yeah, and like the razor wire on the top of the fence. Just like, that's insane.
Like it's so over the top for a chicken farm, and like the farm owners like hate the chickens so much. It's wonderful.
But they let them walk around in little.
They're wearing clothes.
Yeah, chicken clothes, and
I love
unique
like
clothing.
The magical realism that happens here. There's just like certain things that are accepted in this. They're like absolutely like talking within earshot of the people.
Yeah.
At the end, there's kind of a Toy Story moment where it's like, does the farmer realize that they can talk?
Yeah.
Like it becomes a thing.
I said that to Ryan last night. I was like, do they understand that they're speaking English? And she's like, no, that's probably just like.
Mrs. Tweedy is like talking to them at the end. Like she's like, I'm going to bake you into a pie.
I can't wait to get to the ending.
I bet this is not how you thought that movie was going to end.
No.
Okay. I definitely see where you're coming from with like the British of it all. I think if you watch something like Wallace and Gromit, especially the earlier shorts, like very like heavy British material.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the reasons that Chicken Run was able to become kind of like a crossover hit is that it does deal with like fish out of water American type in the middle of all of this British mayhem happens to be Mel Gibson.
I was
But that's
surprised by that as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, did you know much about like the voice cast going into
No
this?
idea. None.
Yeah.
So we had to keep pausing and looking at the thing on Amazon. Be like, who's that? Who's that?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's a bunch of British actors. There's some people on here from like Absolutely Fabulous. Have you seen that before? British
but
TV
I'm
show.
familiar with it. Yeah.
Check it out.
Got some Harry Potter folks.
Some Harry Potter folks. So Umbridge from Harry Potter,
Yeah, Imelda, whatever.
Imelda
Yeah.
Bunty. And then, yeah, I didn't realize this until the very end. The lady who plays Rita Skeeter in Harry Potter is Mrs. Tweedy.
Oh, that's fun. Okay.
Women's touch. But yeah, so my touch point with Chicken Run is that
Yes.
I saw it in theaters and it exists in like a very much of like a launching era for theaters for me. Like I have like an early Joe theater experience era that stretches between like, we talked about how A Bug's Life was like the first movie I ever saw in theaters. So a little bit beyond that, you get into like 99 where it becomes like Star Wars Episode 1, right? So Phantom Menace. I have a clear image of that. Then you get into 2000s where it's like Emperor's New Groove, Lilo and Stitch start to get a little bit more Disney-fied. Then right back into Star Wars Episode 2. And then the next few years of that, it becomes like Lord of the Rings were huge for me and my household.
Yeah.
And then it kind of caps off with like the first Pirates of the Caribbean in 2003. And that kind of opens the door for more of like an adolescent into teenage years theater experience.
Yeah.
So Chicken Run is very much like at the core of those early years for me.
That's awesome.
And I remember seeing it in theaters, and I specifically remember like the marketing campaigns that went along with this. And this is another one of the pillars that I want to talk about of like a blockbuster movie is like the multimedia experience. Omni-channel. In college, we talked about this term called transmedia, where it's just like you're occupying so many different like runways of media and trying to like promote or get a single message across. And so the thing I remember about Chicken Run is specifically Happy Meals. There was a whole campaign with like building the plane that they eventually build in Chicken Run. So there was almost like a Transformers component to it, where like you would get like a hut, and if you get enough of them, you get one that would like become the wings, and you get like 3 of them together would become like the body of this plane, and then you have like individual pieces. Yeah. I remember that as a tie-in, and so
I was gonna say, I was like, if you go fast food, I was like, was the birth of Burger King's chicken fry?
Anything with like a chicken food tie-in, it's like hell immediately for this movie.
Yeah.
God. Yeah. So I want to kind of propose that as one of the many definitions of what we would call a blockbuster in this situation. So as part of this miniseries, we've seen like hits in terms of like financial revenue, right? Like all of these movies make a ton of money.
Yeah.
I think to be a real blockbuster, you need a bit of that like monoculture moment, though. It needs to have like a lasting impact. And this movie does in a way, especially for like the stop motion animation industry, because it was such a turning point in terms of getting stop motion onto the big screen, getting stop motion a part of like the public conscious. And so you see like big budget stop motion movies that follow. You have Coraline, you have did you see Kubo and the Two Strings like 5 years ago?
Oh no, but I remember seeing trailers.
That's also like a Laika movie. And then you have like the Wallace and Gromit movie, which also like won the Oscar when it came out. So
good for them.
This movie really paves the way for stop motion being not just like a critically successful genre, but like commercially as well. And so it's a turning point in that way. And then I think it also has an impact as a blockbuster because of its like marketing, its level of marketing. So you have everything from like a million different character posters for this movie floating around to all the way down to like Happy Meals, like I was saying. So like in order to have that impact, you have to be like ingrained in so many different aspects of culture. Something that we're seeing right now with not exactly Oppenheimer, but definitely Barbie is like everywhere. And so it's
you're not going to get the
what would an Oppenheimer
deal
Happy Meal totally be?
God,
just like put together the bomb and stuff.
Yeah. You get each piece of the symbol later at home.
One of the toys is just like a piece of paper that just says hubris or something.
And then there's the tie with General Mills cereal. If you get enough Fox Tots, you get the Oppenheimer in it.
Mom, please. Fine. So that's where I'm at with Chicken Run and like the impact it had at that time. Let me give you some stats and then we can kind of get into the bulk of this episode. So Chicken Run, directed by Peter Lord and Nick Park, both big in British stop motion animation. I think Peter Lord was one of the founders of Aardman, so this is kind of like a long time coming for him. Starring the voices of Julia Sawalha, who is Ginger, Mel Gibson, Miranda Richardson, Tony Haygarth, Timothy Spall, so another Harry Potter actor actually. Pettigrew from Harry Potter voices the main rat. And then Imelda Staunton, among others. This movie was scored by John Powell and Harry Gregson Williams, which is the same team. Powell also did all the How to Train Your Dragon movies, while Gregson Williams did scores for the Chronicles of Narnia and The Martian and the Metal Gear video games. And so you get like a big, rousing, inspiring score from these guys, which I think is very present in this movie. Like the music is one of the things I think about first when I think about Chicken Run. Released in June of 2000, again, blockbuster, summer hit.
Right, smack.
And it made $227 million against a budget of $45 million.
40 small for, I guess, for
I think this one was weirdly fast for stop motion animation too. Like it only took them like a year and a half of production.
I guess because, like you said, because it's such a contained set. And a lot of the chickens kind of look the same,
I have some stats there. So during production, 30 sets were used with 80 animators working along with people working overall. The result was 1 minute of film completed for each week of filming.
Jesus.
And I think the part that we're forgetting is the entire machine sequence was probably insane to film.
Mm-hmm.
I love that bit. So that's Chicken Run. Why don't we cue up the trailer and I'll have you do the plot description and we can get into it.
All right. Let's see how to get this.
That.
That should mute yourself.
Ever wonder what chickens do when you're not looking? Operation Cover Up! No chicken escapes from Tweedy!
We've got to get out of here. I know our last escape attempt was a bit of a fiasco.
These chickens are planning a little getaway.
The plan is, we go over the wire.
Now will that work?
Now.
Yep. All right, so, so the fine folks can hear you.
It's taking a while.
Here we go. Technical difficulty. That's the trailer.
I mean, you can kind of imagine what's happening there.
You can imagine it's large bits of the movie and pieces to get you excited.
That is how Webster defines a trailer. Why don't we fill in the blanks then, and you give me a 1-minute plot description here. Okay. Do you want me to keep time? Here, I got you.
I mean, or else I could
No, I got it right here.
60 out loud.
Are you ready? Okay. 1-minute plot description of Chicken Run starts now.
Run begins, not even begin now. This chicken farm, their leader, and she wants to escape so bad. The Tweety, she's partnering with the smartest chickens out in her coop to escape, or else they will die on the farm. Then Mel Gibson is Rooster, and on accident, and he's going to teach them how to. They're going to fly out of there. Turns out he's a leads because he's chicken. So they're like, we'll change this plane, and then they're like, we should change this movie title to call it, but that would give away the ending of the movie. So they do it all the while this is happening. I get a pie making machine, and it all blows up. Mel Gibson has sex with all the chickens. That's where you get all the chicks from at the end.
I really love that we were able to fit in that this is like a weirdly horny movie at points.
So horny.
Yeah. So Mel Gibson arrives on this farm and gives them hope because he is presenting himself as a chicken that is able to fly. Now, I haven't done the research here, and I probably should have. Can chickens not fly?
I think they can, just not very high.
Right, because I feel like they're not like migrating or anything, but I feel like I've like seen them flying.
But just, I would think a normal chicken might be able to scale over that. But maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean the way that they're animated and the way that they're like clay motioned together in this, they have arms instead of wings. Essentially,
they have literal.
I like the way that the chickens are modeled in this movie. They have opposable thumbs essentially, and I also love the what is the word? Like, I love the size ratios of everything because, like, I mean, the bodily proportions, yes, but like you're on their level for the most part, and then one of the humans come in and they're like twice the size of one of their chicken coops, and so it's kind of insane, like how small they actually are. So yeah, there's a couple different turning points in this movie where there's montages of them trying to escape this chicken farm in multiple different ways because they are being bred for their eggs, essentially.
Yeah.
And if they don't produce eggs, they get their heads chopped off and they get eaten by the farmers.
Yeah, like
to be clear, they don't show a chicken getting her head chopped off, but like you hear it basically.
The implication shadow, you see the knife come down, or like you see it coming down, but there's no penetration. But bones later on the table, they clink in.
Yeah. So Mr. and Mrs. Tweety hate chickens. You can tell they're not satisfied with their situation on like a Dickensian level. Like they really want to get off this fucking farm.
Right. Yeah, they're trying to make it as an egg farm, small business.
In the English countryside.
On the English countryside, but they are making razor thin margin. Mrs. Tweety just can't take
it's minuscule profits. I love that part of the movie where she's like, I'm sick and tired of making minuscule profits. And then she immediately sees a magazine that says, are you sick and tired of making minuscule profits?
Like, she bought that magazine that it was there.
That's like the title of the magazine.
And,
Remember.
So that gravy making pie machine, whatever, and that they had to put in to get that that fucking billboard on the side, like eaten into.
Yeah,
Life.
I mean, like only the farmer guy has to build it all. But yeah, it is this massive piece of technology because they finally decide there's such like a heel turn where like they're sick of raising these chickens for the eggs. They're just going to completely raise them for pies instead. So we're going to slaughter the chickens. And the chickens realize, and so it increases their need, obviously, to escape. Rocky, the American rooster, comes into play. They think he's a flying rooster. He tells them he's a flying rooster because he needs to hide from the circus that is trying to come after them. And so another montage of them trying to learn how to fly in exchange for hiding him. They're all going to get out together. He develops a relationship with Ginger, the ringleader of the chickens.
And the contention is thick in this movie.
Yeah, the horniness comes into play where it's just like this is a farm full of hens who are kind of seeing an eligible bachelor for the first time, and they all want a piece.
It's hot
for a rooster.
Yeah, and they want it.
Yeah, and then the big dramatic moment. Did you see it coming? Where it's like he actually doesn't know how to fly, and he can't stop lying anymore.
Yeah, I knew that he was hiding a secret. I just didn't know what the secret would be. I was like, okay, they can go a couple different ways. Either he doesn't really know how to fly, but then how did he get there? Or he's actually a hen posing as a rooster.
Wow.
I know that's kind of where I jumped to. I was just because he kind of looks more like a hen than he does look like Fowler. The other.
There's one older rooster. Yeah,
he's got the waddle. And he's got eyebrows and stuff like that.
The implications of that would have been wild. I didn't even consider that. Wow.
That's 100% where my brain went. I was like, oh, that's what's on the bottom of that poster that she finds. It's like the flying hen or something like that. What would they have done with that? I don't know. And it's just like, it's a trans story. Amazing.
I don't think America was ready for that.
Britain was. They were brave to do it. That's kind of where, but I just didn't know what it was. But then it was just like, oh no, he was shot out of a...
Yeah, because he's in the circus.
Well, then where was the fucking circus? On the street. Because how far...
If you'll notice, like when Ginger's outside and he first flies over, like, did you see the part like right before that happens? There's like a thunderclap explosion behind her. That's when he gets shot out of the cannon. And then you hear him flying over. So he's part of like an act where like they shoot chickens out of cannons. Apparently that was a thing back then. So they realize he's shot out of a cannon. He runs away and kind of abandons them because he can't face his guilt. And they become determined to enter the third act of this movie, which is we're going to build a transformer plane.
It's just like they kind of teased it along the way of like the Scottish
Mac.
Mac. Yeah, the Scottish and the genius.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they keep building, catapults and little mechanisms, and then they supply them with exchange for fresh eggs.
It's very much like a classic like heist framework, except they're breaking out instead of breaking into something. You have like you got the leader, you got like the mastermind, the strategist, you got the brains, you got the muscle, you got like the comedic relief, basically.
Dimwit.
Babs.
Oh god,
one-liners. Who when the one chicken is taken off to be beheaded, she asks if she's going on holiday.
Like I imagine that's a lot of like American children's first introduction to like vacation versus holiday.
Oh yeah, very very British terminology.
Yes, amazing.
So the claymation bit comes into play in interesting ways in this movie. So I think there's like a level of texturing in this movie that you just can't really get through CGI.
Oh yeah,
especially because this is such like a grimy movie in certain ways. Like there's so much like mud and stuff. Like there's actual clay that they're walking around in. And so it's really able to like shine as a medium there.
Yeah, I noticed that in the scene where they like show the fence with the spoon, like how they dig down, and it's like, oh, that's just a lump of clay that they.
It looks really good. Yeah. So I really like how grimy the encampment looks and how their huts are designed. I love the pie making machine sequence. So there's this massive like Rube Goldberg-esque machine being built in the barn next to the chicken coops, essentially. And Ginger gets taken. Rocky has to go in and rescue her, and so they end up going through the guts of this machine in like a claymation format, and essentially like it's a pie making machine. And so there's like vegetable and gravy all over the place.
It's insane the just the sheer mechanics of that entire machine. Like it's got the dough and the vegetables and the gravy and a giant and conveyor belts for days and the gravy pressure gauge.
It's all real. So like, how much of that was like in miniaturized form? How did they fit the camera into all of those places? Like, I wonder if you're working on a stop motion movie, are there moments where you kind of tweak it a little bit with CGI? Because there were actually moments in this movie where you could tell, I think it was in like the dancing sequence, that maybe they kind of blended some frames together a little bit with some of their movements. They looked a little bit more blended as opposed to like stop motion-y.
Yeah.
It was like the lightest touch, but it's interesting to think of that being like a discussion of like how much CGI touch-ups can we make to this?
Maybe not even like CGI, like in the traditional sense of like we're going to add in this thing, or maybe it's just like
editing,
motion blur.
Yeah,
it's just a little bit of editing. Because that scene in particular, there's a lot of motion and things going on. So to make it feel a little more easier on the eye with a lot of characters moving, maybe they added some motion.
Right, because like if you have things in stop motion that are like floating or flying through the air, or some things are moving faster than others, like everything is like a fucking math equation for like what to move versus not for every single frame that you're taking a picture of.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
Why do people torture themselves like this?
It's for the art, Joe.
Art's not worth it.
Art is dying. So, but yeah, the texture, the one thing that I had it's not even an issue. It's just like a personal preference of mine. It's kind of close to like the tryptophobia or toptophobia, whatever it is. It's like
the thing with like the holes.
Kind of, and you kind of get that with some of like the texturing of like their bottom half, where their legs meet their like chicken ass, and it's like their feathers, and it's just like the stippling of all the feathers. It just like
it looks.
Gives me
it looks like flaky alien-y skin in a way. I can totally see that.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a pine cone in certain instances. Yeah, it kind of just gives me the ick a little bit. But other than that, like I appreciate that, just the sheer amount of detail.
And their teeth are weird too.
They have teeth and chicken fingers, Joe. Do chickens actually have teeth?
I have a stat about that. So when a chicken speaks in this movie, each sound corresponds to a different beak that was placed on the character. And so you have like characters, and then you have like 20 or so different like beaks that are just lined up, and they would just like replace them
based on the line of dialogue that they're saying.
Yeah, so they probably had to like break down the sounds into individual syllables and then figure out, okay, like this is where the mouth is going to go fully circular, and then this is where it's going to be like wider, this is where it's going to be open, this is where we show tongue versus not.
Chicken tongue, right? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a common practice, just general animation stuff like that. There's all the syllabic shapes for the mouth, which is a fascinating just practice in and of itself, just to do the match, especially because these movies take years to do. So like, when did the voice actors come in and slap down their line?
Yeah, that's crazy. I guess like they would have to do it before so they can build off of that, or do they watch the animation just try to like line up the voices?
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Or do they do it at the same time?
It's not for us to figure out.
For us. It's for smarter folks. Yeah.
They probably didn't make the voice actors stay on set for a year and a half and voice each of.
Could you imagine though they did?
Mel Gibson's like, this is costing you another $10 million.
Jesus Christ, I can't stand it anymore.
That's it. Version of the Christ.
Chicken Run leads into Passion of the Christ.
I bet there's
Um,
definitely 7 degrees there.
yeah. So, like I said before, this is a very contained story with clear stakes.
It's a tight.
Yes. It gives you folks to root for. It gives you folks to root against. There's like a couple different twists that are interesting. It is physically contained within a space, so you kind of get to know it. You get to know the mechanics of everything that's happening around you. There's like references made towards the end of the movie from the beginning of the movie. Like the beginning of the movie, you talked about like them digging out underneath the fence as one of their many escape attempts that it shows in like that opening montage. That ends up being the way that they show that Rocky gets out at the end when he kind of runs away. It shows the spoon again. And so it's very contained. It's very tight script in that way. There's some very impressive like set pieces in terms of like the machinery sequence, and then the plane that they end up building out of multiple huts and fabric and stuff.
Bonkers. The amount of just moving parts, it's chicken feet pedal powered.
It's very cool to watch. There's like gears everywhere. It looks like a big, huge like treehouse on wheels that has wings, kind of, and like it goes into the innards a lot.
It's
and it's
very
them all pedaling.
It's
and
very Lost Boys from Hook.
Yes, that's what I was just thinking.
Yes.
Yeah. Lots of like wooden planks and stuff and wires. And then there's like a pretty crazy and like action-packed sequence at the end where they are flying. There's Christmas lights, is it, that like gets caught onto the end of their plane, so that's trailing them. And then Mrs. Tweedy, the evil farmer, like hooks onto that, and so they're flying around with her hanging off of it. She's got a hatchet and murder in her eyes.
She looks insane.
I love the design. She looks so crazy. She's like this housewife that's gone like full like Jason.
Yeah, that whole ending sequence is it's very fast but pulse pounding and very exciting. And so when it's the bait and switch kind of thing, she comes down with the hatchet, but Ginger ducks her head and cuts the wire, and it's like a solid 30 seconds of like the reveal, and then you realize that she's holding onto the wire the whole time. That chicken is strong as fuck.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
And then just
she cuts herself off the wire essentially,
and then she fly away. But like one of the shots, they're flying away, but like the fence line is right here, so like they didn't get very far.
Yeah,
but during the whole 6-minute sequence of escape.
Yeah, they're kind of going in circles during this flying sequence, and then they end up at a convenient bird sanctuary, which is nice. It's all the chickens on an island that looks like Bug's Life.
Yes, that is exactly what I got to. Connections.
Yeah. My final notes on the plot here is this is ultimately a movie about the mechanics of aviation. They get really into the science of it. Both the animated movies we have watched, this and Bug's Life, have a secret avian construction plot point.
They do, and they're very similar.
Because they build a bird in Bug's Life out of leaves and stuff, and it becomes like integral to the plot. And the adding on to like the World War II comparisons or imagery in this movie. This movie ends with a gravy explosion that looks like a mushroom cloud. Did you catch that? Yeah. It's essentially they drop the bomb on this chicken farm and then they fly out.
Yeah. Leaving the Tweedies destitute.
As they should.
They sunk all their money into that machine, into the advertising. Surely they did like radio spots and stuff like that. Like they have zero money now.
It's great.
And they have no home. It's amazing.
What do you think happens in real life if this happens? So like your chickens have built an airplane and flown away. They probably can't get far. They're on the radar of the government at this point. Like, do you call the police and be like,
well, so
I need to get my chickens?
Well, first of all, this is Britain, and
right?
They are, they're not police officers.
You call a constable?
You call the constable in. Or, I can't remember what else you call a British police officer. It's like a bobby. It's a bobby. Yeah.
Hot fuzz.
It's a bobby,
yeah.
Or Scotland, or when they come in. But if this is like the 50s and 60s or something like that, I don't know if radar exists Is there an unidentified giant?
They're a large, like flying object enough to lift a human being,
Yeah.
right? And so hopefully they don't fly too far. But it's also, again, it's that Toy Story element of like, who's going to believe you, you know?
Could you so imagine? I can imagine like a darker twist too, of like a Icarus kind of storyline.
Oh,
They can't
like
control
they-
it, and they just keep flying up into.
They go too
They
high.
fly too high. They flew too.
They all hold hands as they like freeze to death.
Freeze-dried chicken. Amazing, and then they fall back down to the earth, but then the pressure cooks them, and then they're just perfectly cooked chickens by the time they land.
Jesus.
Dark
Yeah. So that's Chicken Run.
chicken run.
Justin, what were you surprised by this movie? What'd you like? What'd you hate?
I had a good time. I
Mhm.
appreciated how tight the time was. Like it was in and out. It was like you said, it's a very short and easy to consume plot point or just
Mhm.
plot general. We watched it over the course of 2 nights because we paused it about halfway, or what I thought was halfway, and turns out there was only like 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, we'll get
It's split into like a few different sequences, and they're all like separated by like a montage of something happening. And that's pretty
yeah,
much
we
it.
stopped it on the first night, like just before the uprising. As soon as Mr.
Mhm.
T like catches on and catches them, I was like, okay, that's a good place to stop. We're gonna catch the final third act here tomorrow in another 30-minute installment or whatever. And it's like, no, it's just 10.
I love the line where like they're actively fighting against him, and he shouts to his wife that the chickens are revolting, and she's like not even looking. She's like, finally something we agree on.
I thought it was delightful. A children's movie, yes, but with dark elements that you're gonna have to answer some questions on the way home.
Hey, there were children during World War II.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Fucking silly. I got some notes here, and then we'll talk about our beverages that you are now out of. Oh, actually,
Oh,
you have
shit,
some
yeah.
stuff to top off.
Cocktail moment.
Here, let me hit some notes, and then we'll do that. So I love that within the first minute, there's an actual chicken running. It's Ginger when
Mhm.
she's trying to escape, and she's running. And I was like, oh, that's like chicken run.
The title of this is confusing.
Confusing, but
a
you
little
can't
bit.
call it chicken. Chickens can fly, or can chickens
Mhm.
fly? White chickens can jump. You know, like
Get that chicken. Catch that chicken.
fucking chicken. So I've never seen Schindler's List. Is this similar vibes? Don't know.
I think that's a little darker. I've never seen Schindler's List too, but I think that movie more directly deals with the Holocaust than this does.
I mean,
This is more of a prisoner of war.
sure. Or is this more of like a chicken Shawshank? And it is. It's like an escape.
You can kind of think of it
Yeah.
that way, yeah.
It's kind of dark. Mel Gibson. I was super surprised by Mel Gibson. Did not see that. I didn't expect an American character to show
Yeah.
up. So when he shows up and he starts talking, I'm like, well, who's the asshole who didn't even attempt to put on an accent? Pause the movie.
Oh,
It's Mel
no.
Gibson. And it's like, oh no, I'm from America. I was like, okay, all right, you get a pass. Babs the Twit chicken is hilarious.
Mhm.
I love that she made a noose. She was knitting a noose on accident. Hilarious and dark as shit. Who gave that rooster a medal?
Mhm.
Fowler. Like, why was he get a medal?
His backstory's so
It's so
confusing.
amazing. The horror.
Yeah, this old rooster who was like in the Air Force, but not really.
This is the poultry division. What does that mean? And why did he get a medal? And then I was like, so is he fucking all these hens? I don't know how a chicken farm works. Why do you even have a rooster?
I think he's there to like literally just be a rooster and like wake them up every morning.
And then just to his quarters? Unless you want to make more chickens,
Yeah,
then you get him.
I mean he's there to have order, I guess.
Yes, I'm not sure the power dynamics of a real chicken.
It's another thing where it's like it bends reality a little bit because they're counting the chickens and like figuring out like who laid what eggs, and they know that all the chickens are lined up perfectly
In order.
like people like, and they're all wearing different like hats and stuff.
Who knit
And
those
so-
hats for them?
There's like an acceptable level of like reality breaking that's happening between the chickens and their owners.
Yeah. So it if you try to dig into it too much, you can't do it because you'll hurt your brain. I loved how, and we talked about this, just how horny it was, how all those hens wanted to bang Rocky as soon as he showed up. Mr. Tweety is a cluck, 100%. He's got big cuck energy. Rocky and Ginger are going to fall in love, aren't they? And they did. I love that they didn't. And right at this towards the end, he's like, "Oh, they're going to kiss. How do you animate beaks kissing? How are they going to?"
They did kiss.
But
Yeah.
it was just a head in front of another head, so they didn't.
It's like
to show the mechanics of two beaks.
It's like they kind of like make their lips into a circle and then they press those two tubes together, basically.
And they're just exchanging.
It's like they're not French kissing.
Yeah, they're English kissing. I wish there were more room for cock jokes. That would have been good. Love the Indiana Jones reference with the hat. There was another reference in there too.
It's a Star Wars reference.
Where's the Star Wars reference?
It's like right after the hat. They're escaping the machine and they do like a Luke and Leia on the rope thing across the gears.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
And then there's a Star Trek reference with Mac, the Scottish hen, with "Give it her all she's got."
Yeah,
And
she's Scotty down in the engineering. Yeah,
love that. Let's see. So Mel Gibson is giving kind of Tim Allen vibes. It sounds at multiple points like Tim Allen doing Buzz Lightyear on Toy Story, which I thought was interesting. Love the montage, building of the plane. Should this be called Chicken Flight or Fly? But that would spoil the ending. Now, it's not that they have little accessories that bother me. It's the fact that they have fucking chicken fingers and teeth.
you don't like
Because some of the fingers, there's some shots where it's like just the hand comes in and grabs something. It's like, oh, who is that? And then it's like, oh, they have fingers, of course.
There were certain sacrifices that had to be made in order for this to function as an animated movie.
Yeah, we already talked about how Ginger is the strongest chicken ever, holding the line for 30 seconds. And then at the end, who made all those babies? Who made all the baby chicks?
You know who made all the
It's just Rocky and Ginger?
Maybe there's more chickens on the bird sanctuary that we're just not
Are they
seeing.
Molly chickens?
We will likely find out, though, because do you know that there's going to be a sequel to this movie coming out later this year?
This year?
Yeah.
Chicken Run 2.
There's a sequel 23 years later. It's going to be on Netflix. It's called Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget.
Dawn of the Nugget?
Yeah. It's about them, and they have a kid, and something's like threatening the bird sanctuary that they live on now. And so they have to like stage a break-in or a heist or something again.
Oh, wow.
And they have like a daughter now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Does it also take place 23 years later? Because I don't think a chicken's lifespan is 20.
No, I would guess not. Yeah. The lifespan of chickens is an interesting plot point in this too, because like Fowler, the rooster's like old, but what does that actually mean for a chicken? Like he was in the Royal Air Force, arguably during World War II.
Right. Okay, so maybe this is a little sooner.
But is he like 5 years old? Like how does that work?
He's 5 years old, but he's an old chicken man. Yeah, so this movie paired with A Bug's Life, Joe, this says a lot about you, that those were your picks and those are some of your favorite movies, because those movies comparatively are very anti-establishment, breaking your bonds.
I was very much like
your oppressors.
just fight the fascists as a child. Yeah,
You were homeschooled. It's amazing.
I was doing my part.
I know.
Where were you?
I love it. Those are all my notes and introspections that I took during the movie.
I do like that a theme of this is, we're going to like physically break out of this camp, but also that starts with like mentally breaking out too. You have to like want freedom as well as like actually physically being free. It starts in the mind. And I love the rousing speeches that are made.
There's some good speeches here on par with like Independence Day, you know?
Some great physical comedy too. There's lots of moments where they're all just like brawling with each other, and there's like feathers flying all over the place. Again, like it's so cool to see that as stop motion.
Cheers to you, Joe.
Cheers.
Just to the end.
What do we got going on here?
This is something so delicious. I'm going to make this again.
I watched you make it.
I rarely remake cocktails after we make these, but I'm definitely going to make this one. I'm calling this one a ginger fizzy cock. I wanted more cocktail. So first and foremost, the base spirit in here is homemade gin that Ryan and I.
Homemade. Pause. Walk me through this.
right now. Okay, so little backstory. A couple weeks ago was our 4-year wedding anniversary, and the theme gift of the year. There's always like a theme for each year. It's like paper, cotton, string, or whatever.
Yeah.
This year, the 4-year anniversary is fruit and flowers.
Okay.
So it's like, do you get them like a fucking edible arrangement?
Yeah.
Pass. But what is fruity and floral? Gin.
Gin, baby.
Like gin. So you can make your own gin at home. There's little kits online that you can buy that has all the botanicals and shit in it. Juniper berries and stuff like that. And you just get a spirit of like cheap vodka.
Right. I was going to ask, like, where does the actual alcohol
Gin
come
is
in?
essentially infused fancy vodka.
Oh, it's
Yep.
really?
It's not a unique thing.
Okay.
That's why most gin tastes the same. It has the juniper berry. That is the core.
Tastes like twigs, yeah.
Kind of like twigs, right? No. It's that floral kind of scent. So that is the base spirit in here. This is a ginger infused gin that we made. We made a little small batch, some lemon juice, little honey syrup, and an egg white because chicken, and then topped with club soda.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
You said it tastes really good?
It tastes so fucking good. You can taste the honey.
Yeah.
Lemon is real nice.
That the foam on yours has really like maintained its complexity.
Yeah, and its composure. And I had
consistency.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to do something with an egg.
Mm-hmm. I went in a different direction. So I have what I'm calling the grass on the other side, inspired by this movie and how they have a whole thing about how the grass is greener on that hill that they can't see. And so for this recipe, it's really, I'm just going to say anything green that you have can go into this. It's kind of like a build your own grass on the other side situation. What I used was 1 part sour apple schnapps,
Okay.
1 part clear gin, half a part lime juice, and topped with ginger ale.
Delightful.
It's very sweet, and it's getting me a little tipsy right now.
So it's just gin? Oh, and then I guess the apple
Gin and schnapps,
gin schnapps.
which I don't think are supposed to go together, but I didn't really want to do a vodka.
schnapps.
Yeah.
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 That's delightful. And I called you out on it. Like, it looks green, and
Very green.
it's very green.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, very nice.
That's amazing.
Some closing notes before I get you into this game. I think I really only had notes on Aardman Animations. So they partnered with DreamWorks to make this movie. That partnership continued with they ended up doing like a CGI version of stop motion. They made it kind of look stop motion-y with Flushed Away. Did you ever watch that?
No.
About like the rat.
Yeah.
So they did that. And then that was in like the mid 2000s, and that wasn't really a huge success. But now Aardman is a little bit back to the roots, and so they're making movies called like Shaun the Sheep, and its sequel. So those have received critical and commercial praise. So they're going strong.
Love that.
During a time when you might not think stop motion would be.
And they are reprising
so huge.
their roles for Chicken Run also? Chicken Run?
The movie will be stop motion. There's going to be different voice casts with it.
Sure.
It's not like Mel Gibson again. It's actually the guy who plays Shazam is playing the Mel Gibson role.
Zachary Levi?
Yeah. And the ginger character is going to be Thandie Newton, so Westworld.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then Bella Ramsey from Last of Us is their daughter.
Amazing. Wow, that's a stacked cast.
Yeah. They got a lot of people.
Even though like the jury's out on Zachary Levi now, right? We're kind of not with him at the moment.
It's fine. I can't remember.
I can't remember what it was.
happened.
Yeah.
The vibe is off.
The vibe
there.
is off.
I can probably look it up. It's like Christian vibes. No. Hunt them now. No. Justin, are you ready for a little game?
Games. You said, fuck it. It's called Chicken.
I will. Can I confess
Yeah.
something? I know. So the way that we do this, listeners, is like I'll send Justin the name of the game that I am proposing, and then he'll build this like really cool and original animated video sequence off of that. I sent him a game name called Chicken Fun.
You change it.
I didn't really know what to do with it. And so our game will be a lot of fun, and it does fit the theme because we're talking about Chicken Run. It's not really about chicken. So it's fine.
Damn it, Joe. I made a video and everything.
We'll see if the video works.
It says Chicken Fun. All right,
Yeah.
let's see what this does.
I'm gonna mute
Okay,
myself.
you mute
Here we go.
yourself, and I'm just going to stay on here with the folks. All right.
So for for those of you listening at home and not like watching on YouTube, Justin essentially just made a Chicken Run version of the Parks and Rec intro sequence.
So I knew there had to be. So you sent me the final musical bit of The Great Escape,
The Great Escape, yeah.
and you're like, "This is the vibe, 100%." I was like, "All right." So it's kind of marchy. There's like horns and a flute and stuff. So
Yeah.
like, I just kind of composed something, and then I was like, "All right, I need to add some bocking at the background." So I
think you nailed it.
located the instrumentation with bocking, and then I was like, you know what? This sounds a lot like the intro to Parks and Rec. So I found a generator, built a thing.
Oh my god. I truly enjoy all of the original content that you make for this podcast. We're really going to have to release like a 4-disc like special box
That's
set
cool.
of like all of our game intros. So that's Chicken Fun. Thank you again, Justin. Let me explain to you what this game is going to
Not
be.
about chicken,
Not really about
but it is fun.
but more about like the blockbuster theme of the month, and specifically like modern blockbusters as they're happening maybe right now. So in honor of Barbenheimer, which is the phenomenon we are still in the middle of Barbie and Oppenheimer being released on the same day and creating kind of like a swell of audiences seeing them both as a double feature. I am going to give you a series of portmanteaus, so combinations of two different movie titles here based off of movies that we have covered on this podcast. So the way this is going to work is, are you
I'm
following me,
yeah.
Armin? Yeah. You know how
Pick it
this
up with your pen.
So I'm going to give you a name like Barbenheimer. You're going to tell me what movie that we've covered on this podcast that it's referring to, and then also what movie released on the same day as that movie it's also referring
Okay,
to.
so it's one
That
part.
people could have seen as like a double
Okay, so it's one part, one movie we've covered, and another movie that we haven't covered that came out on the same.
that we haven't covered came out on the same day. No,
This is amazing.
for example, if I say June 23rd, 2000, Me, Myself, and I Run, that would be Chicken Run
Myself and Irene.
and Me, Myself, and
It came out the same day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We're going to learn a lot about like counter programming in this.
It's good.
Okay. So I have eight line items here, and we're just going to go
Okay.
through.
Let's do it.
And we'll see how many
See
we
what
get right. Okay. Are you ready?
So ready.
Play Chicken
Fun.
Fun.
Yes.
And we're going to have fun. All right. Number one. So June 30th, 2006, The Devil Returns.
The Devil Returns. Okay, so it's The Devil Wears Prada.
That's one of them.
What returned in 2006? Return of Jafar. Nope. That
I'll give you one hint for each of
I'll
these.
take that hint.
Superhero.
Superman returns.
Superman returned in 2006.
Yeah.
So it's The Devil Wears Prada and Superman Returns came out at the same day.
Amazing.
Yeah. Worlds colliding. Yeah. Okay. Number 2. February 16th, 1996. Habit, Treasure, Islemore. One more time. Habit, February 16th, 1996. Habit, Treasure, Islemore.
Okay, so Muppet Treasure Island.
Yeah.
Habit. Islemore. 1996. I'll take the hint. I'll take the hint. For a half point.
Okay, sports.
Habit. Treasure Islemore. Hammore. Halfmore. Allmore. I don't know.
Oh, you're closing in on it. You're so close.
Haldor. Hodor. Hodor.
You give up. It's Muppet Treasure Island and Happy Gilmore. 96.
That's a good one. It's a good one.
Okay. July 14th, 1989. Are you ready? When Lycery met Killy.
Okay, when Harry met Sally.
That's one of them.
Lycery. Lice. Kill. License to kill.
You nailed it. I loved you working that out. Okay.
Yeah.
December 3rd, 2010.
Okay.
Black Express.
Black Swan. Apple Express.
No.
Polar Express.
Polar Express 2010 IMAX re-release.
The re-release. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Couldn't get that one past
No.
you. June 10th, 1994. Spitty Spickers 2.
We covered this. It's Speed and City Slickers 2. Curse of Curly's Gold.
The Legend of Curly.
It wasn't Curse. That's right. It was just a legend. Spitty Spickers. Can you say Spickers, Joe? I don't think you can.
Is Spickers something? Oh, no. Don't cancel me. September 29th, 2000. Remember the Show.
Best in Show. Remember the Titans?
Wow. I thought that was going to be a hard one.
Come on. Come on.
What was happening in September 2000 for you? Okay. 2 more to go.
Okay.
December 15th, 1974. Father Stein.
Father of the Bride. Young Frankenstein. No.
No. You got Young Frankenstein.
What? Okay, give me your portmanteau one more time.
Father Stein.
Just Father Stein. Father. Was there a movie called Father?
In 1974? No.
Godfather.
Godfather Part 2.
Yep.
I made it a little tricky for you. Yeah. Okay. Last one. You ready? These were all easy. I thought they were going to be harder. November 20th, 1998. Bugrats.
A Bug's Life.
Mhm.
Is it the Rugrats movie?
Yeah.
The
That's like the
Muppets
only one of these.
Takeover Pair.
No, it's just the Rugrats movie. That's the only one of these that would like actually work as like
A double feature to go see?
Yeah. All these other ones don't make sense.
insane.
Congratulations, Justin. I'd say you got like a solid 80%
so.
on that one.
An 80 out of 8? Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Did you have fun and do you feel like a chicken?
I feel like a chicken who had fun. Who's just here. I feel like Babs, you know.
So I think the title of the game is not only appropriate, but also like very fit.
Cockmanto.
Cockmanto. That just sounds like a martial arts fighting.
I'll edit the video and just instead of chicken fun, I'll put Cockmanto. Oh, that's some big thunder.
I don't know if we're picking that up on the microphone, but it's actively storming outside.
Up. Yeah.
Oh, Justin,
Great.
Chicken Run.
So much fun.
It's maybe the only stop motion movie that we'll be able to cover, and I'm glad we were able to cover it.
Yeah, you're right because there are so few, and we've
both seen like Coraline and stuff, right? Yeah,
and then whatever that
Wild
God movie is that I talked about that took 30 years to make.
You may need to send that to me. We'll post it on Instagram.
But yeah, this was fun. This was a delight. Even though there were some heavy-handed themes, some dour themes.
Yeah.
dark connotations of sorts.
British cinema.
That's British cinema, baby.
Yeah.
You know, but it speaks a lot to your character, to Joe. You know, as a person,
I'll take that as a compliment.
it is a compliment. 100%. You take no shit. You will not be shackled.
Yes. Try to chain me up and take my eggs? Hell no.
Those are my eggs.
My eggs. They took my eggs. Why don't you tell listeners about where we're headed in the month of August?
Guys, we're gonna take a vacation next month, and not just the kind that Joe likes to take at the drop of a hat. We're doing, for August, we're going to do the theme of summer vacations. It is the tail end of summer. You know, a lot of people are going back to school and kind of stuff. So we're trying to capture the essence of travel, of excitement, and just like that.
The family packed into a car.
Yeah.
You're in like a new exotic location and you're
Yeah.
finding love a little bit.
Yeah. These movies involve packing a bag and then exploring yourself as well as new lands.
It's coming of age, but it's also, just coming into yourself.
Just yeah.
And in the case of the movie, just coming. Yeah.
Just coming.
Yeah.
It's great. So we're going to do my movie first, and we're going to do Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
I've never seen it.
And it takes place in Hawaii. How fun.
I do know about the seagull dick, which I am excited for. Yeah. I've never seen it, but that's the one big thing I know about this movie.
Oh. It's modern. Good. Yeah, but so we're going to do that, and then Joe's going to close it out later in the month with his pick. And then who knows? After that, it's September. It's our 1-year anniversary. And we're just going to do something. There will be cake, I think.
It's the paper anniversary. Oh, that's like a
cocktail.
Yeah, people pay to watch that, I think.
We'll make some money. Anyway, this is great. Chicken Run was a delight. Can't wait to watch it again and show it to my daughter. She's going to enjoy it. But yeah, that was the Uncultured Cinematic Universe. Thanks, Joe.
Join us next time for sex comedy. Bye.